Hello friends, in this video we will learn initial value as well as final value theorem. We'll understand what is the necessity of these theorems and we will solve problems based on the same. Let us begin. First of all, let us understand what is the necessity of having initial value and final value theorem, and before that let us understand what is exactly mean by initial value and final value. For example, if some signal is given to you, let's say x of t, then in this x of t, if you substitute t equal to 0, then it becomes x of 0. Now this x of 0 is called as initial value, and within same x of t, if you substitute t value equal to infinity, then what you get is x of infinity, and now this x of infinity is called as final value. Or let me give you some practical example. You're staying in some north area and you know what is the situation in north there. I mean, temperature even goes below 0 or below negative, am I right? So there you have heaters in the room and heaters in the room. So what I'm actually doing, I'm going to plot temperature with respect to time when the heater is turned on. So when heater is turned on, we set a particular temperature. Let's say we have set the temperature at 20 degree centigrade. So our reference temperature is 20 degree. So I want my room temperature to be 20 degrees centigrade with respect to time. So all the time I want to maintain this temperature, and therefore I have shown right from t equal to 0 up to infinity it should be 20 degree centigrade throughout constant. But in reality this is not happening. I mean, let's say at t equal to 0 instant you have turned on the heater. So at this instant, that is t equal to 0, what you did is you have turned on the heater. Now do you feel that when at t equal to 0, when you have turned on the heater, the temperature would have been a 20 degree centigrade? Of course no, it would be far below 20 degree centigrade. Hypothetically assume that the temperature was 0 degree Celsius at t equal to 0. So this is indicating 0 degree Celsius and this is increasing in nature, am I right? So assume that at t equal to 0, the temperature was 0 degrees Celsius. Since heater is turned on, now slowly temperature is increasing with respect to time. So slowly temperature is increasing with respect to time, and eventually it will become 20 degrees centigrade, am I right? Or practically assuming that it is not exactly reaching to 20 degrees centigrade, but then it must have reached somewhere to 19.9 degrees centigrade, and therefore you see some difference between that. Now this time response I can actually divide in two parts. I mean, a part of response which is changing with respect to time and a part of response which is constant with respect to time or steady with respect to time. So these two responses are known as transient response and steady state response. I hope my point is clear. So the graph that you see in blue color, it is actually showing you the real time increase in temperature with respect to time. So at t equal to 0, the instant at which we have turned on the heater, we assume that at t equal to 0, the temperature was 0 degrees Celsius. But since now the heater is turned on, the temperature is increasing slowly with respect to time. At some point of time, it has reached to 20 degree centigrade, or let's say near to 20 degree centigrade, because we never get a perfect temperature. We still have some error at the end, even though it could be 0.0001% also, but still yes, there is some error exist because we have no ideal systems does exist in the world, right? So what I have done is I have divided this response in two parts. First part, as you can see, it is varying with respect to time, known as a transient response, and a part of response which is steady with respect to time, known as a steady state response. So now this is a temperature with respect to what? Time. So now question is, what was the initial temperature? So initial temperature was how much? It is 0 degree centigrade. So temperatures, if I ask you what is the initial value, by observing the graph, I came to know it is 0 degree Celsius. This 0 degree Celsius is observed at t equal to 0. So this is very important, that initial value is always observed at t equal to 0. Whereas if I ask you what is the final value, then final value means it is called as a steady state value. So now I'm talking about a final value, or it is also called as a steady state value. So by observing, one can say it is, let's say, 19.9 degree centigrade, and now it is throughout constant with respect to time. So 19.9 degree Celsius is what we called as a final value. Then what is 20 degree centigrade? 20 degree centigrade, it's something we want our temperature to be at. Therefore 20 degree centigrade is known as a reference value. As you can see, the reference value and the final value may not be same, and there is some difference between the reference value and the actual value, and that difference is known as error, or it is, to be very precise, called as a steady state error. The reason why it is called as a steady state error, because this is a difference found at steady state response. Am I right? So this is the difference, and that difference is called as a steady state error. The reason I have taken this example, because to make you understand these terminologies, that is steady state error, what is meant by initial value, what is meant by final value, and so on. So final value or steady state value is always observed mathematically at t tends to infinity. Let me tell you, in reality or in practice, you cannot observe something at t equal to infinity, because if you, let's say, talking about t equal to infinity, it is the time that you have to wait for lifetime. Even if your life ends, that t tends to infinity or t equal to infinity will never come. Mathematically, when I say t tends to infinity, it means they are talking about a steady state value or a final value. I hope you're not taking t equal to infinity literally. Fine. So this moment where output reaches to steady state, it's considered as a final value, or t is tending to infinity. I hope you understood. So x of 0 is called as initial value, x of infinity is called as final value. X of 0 is observed at x of t when t tends to infinity, and x of infinity is observed for x of t when t is tending to infinity. So I hope you understood what is meant by initial value, final value, and final value is also called as a steady state value. Now the question remains, why do we require initial value and final value theorem? Let us understand. For example, x of s is given. You know that what is meant by x of s? X of s is nothing but a Laplace transform of x of t. Am I right? So x of s is given to you, and what has been asked to you is x of 0. Please try to understand the difference between these two. This x of 0 is in time domain, okay? So initial value and final value theorem will help you to get x of 0 from the given x of s. So x of 0 is given as limit s is tending to infinity s times x of s. This is the formula for initial value, or it is also called as initial value theorem. With initial value theorem, you can calculate x of 0. X of 0 means x of t at t equal to 0 from given x of s. And similarly, final value theorem is nothing but calculating x of infinity from x of s. So x of infinity is given as limit s is tending to what? 0 s times x of s. So this formula is nothing but a final value theorem. So final value theorem helps you to get x of infinity. Initial value theorem helps you to get x of 0. Let us understand this term, that is transient terms and steady state terms. What does that mean? Now, in given function of s, we have to identify what are transient term or what are steady state term. Then in reality, we cannot find that. You have to first of all take inverse Laplace. It means only in time domain we can identify transient terms and steady state terms. Am I right? So let me talk about transient term first. In given signal which is time dependent, something that gets vanished after some time, or mathematically something that gets completely vanished when t tends to infinity, is actually known as transient term. So I would say a transient term is that response which die out or it becomes zero when t tends to infinity. So this is known as a transient term. And of course, what is meant by a steady state term? Something that doesn't become zero when t tends to infinity, or that retains even when t tends to infinity, is known as a steady state term. So just opposite to transient term, we would define a steady state term. Why this is important to know? Because if you don't understand this, you won't understand a logic behind initial value theorem and final value theorem. And if you don't understand these terms, you are incapable to solve the problems which are based on the same topic. So it is essential to understand a theory behind it. So let us see what is steady state term. Just opposite to transient term, a part of response which doesn't die when t tends to infinity. So let me give you some example. So I'll write some mathematical expression. Let some function y of t, which is equal to e to the power minus 3t plus 2. So as you can observe this, let's say when t tends to infinity. So when you substitute t tends to infinity, can I say this part will become 0, because it will become e to the power minus infinity, and e to the power minus infinity is what? 0. But then even though t tends to infinity, can I say this 2 remains unaffected, because this 2 is a constant and it is time independent. So what does that mean? I would define e to the power minus 3t term as a transient term, and I'll define this 2 as a steady state term. I hope you understood what I meant. Now let me give you one more example. Let us assume y of t is e to the power minus 3t plus 5t plus 2. So let us now substitute t equal to infinity. So when you substitute t equal to infinity, as you can see, again this part becomes 0, but then these two part remains. I mean, these two part are not going to fade out, or they are not going to die. So only this term is known as a transient term. But then since these two part doesn't die out or does not become 0 when t tends to infinity, so whatever remaining, whether it is time dependent or time independent, because in the previous problem what we have seen, since this 2 was time independent, it's not only the reason why it is a steady state. The reason why 2 is a steady state term, because when t tends to infinity, it doesn't become 0. So at t tends to infinity, which definitely becomes 0, mathematically becomes 0, is known as a transient term. And thereafter, whatever remaining in a given x of t or given y of t or any function which is time dependent is known as a steady state term. So this is known as a steady state term. I hope you understood the meaning of transient term and steady state term. Now let us again discuss this in detail. For example, if I'm talking about this, and in this, if you want to know what is meant by a steady state value. Now, please don't get confused between steady state term and steady state value. Steady state value, as the name employed, I want value of y of t when t tends to infinity. I repeat, steady state value means you want mathematical value or numerical value when t tends to infinity. So in this y of t, if you substitute t equal to infinity, again I'm talking about this first problem, okay? Then if you substitute t equal to infinity, what is going to happen? Here, this term will become 0 and what is remaining? 2. Then I would say steady state value equal to 2. I hope you understood this. Now, in the second problem here, when you substitute t equal to infinity, what is going to happen? When you substitute t equal to infinity, this will become what? 0. This will remain as it is because even 2 is what? Time independent. But then 5t, since t equal to infinity, will also become infinity. Then we would say that I cannot tell you what is a steady state value. So steady state value cannot be found out in question number 2. In question number 2, in fact, if you find a steady state value, it is actually infinity. And when it comes to infinity, we would rather say steady state value we cannot define. So please understand, even though a steady state term is present in question number 2 also, but steady state value cannot be defined. So in every problem, there are two parts, that is transient term and steady state term. Transient term, it's something that becomes 0 when t tends to infinity, and when t tends to infinity, whatever left in the given expression of x of t, y of t, or given in general, let's say f of t, then the term is known as steady state term. Steady state value means a numerical value which remains when t tends to infinity. I hope you understood the meaning of this. Let us now try to solve a problem. So before we start again solving the problem, let me tell you some background about final value theorem and initial value theorem, and then we'll get back to the same question. So definitely solve the question, but I want you to understand initial value theorem and final value theorem limitations. That is, see, in mathematics also you have already learned this formula. When you have studied Laplace transformation in mathematics, a normal mathematics, that is applied mathematics, there you must have understood that initial value theorem and final value theorem, you just actually follow the formula blindly and you get some answers. This is not reality in control system, because in control system you're not working it blindly, okay? You're actually applying these theorems to a particular system. That system practically may give you final value, may not give you final value. So initial value theorem, it's something which is always applicable in control system. So this is always applicable in control system. But let me tell you, this is not true for final value theorem. Final value theorem may be applicable, may not be applicable. So before actually using final value theorem, you have to be bit careful. Final value theorem is applicable only for those systems which are stable in nature. And we know that for a given transfer function, whether the system is stable or not, we identify it from the pole's location, if you remember. So final value theorem you have to apply only when the poles are lying on left half of S-plane. So for left half of S-plane, yes, we can apply final value theorem because we get the response which is convergent in nature, am I right? For example, if your poles are not lying on left half of S-plane but rather on j omega axis, again final value theorem is not applicable. In your S-plane, if poles are present on right half of S-plane, then again this theorem is not applicable, because you know that whenever your poles are going on right half of S-plane, the system response becomes unbounded, and unbounded, it is approaching to infinity when t tends to infinity. So in such cases, final value theorem is not applicable. Let me tell you, for initial value theorem, you don't have to worry, you just have to apply the formula. But then when it comes to a final value theorem, you have to be very, very careful. What is going to happen in reality, I'll tell you. Suppose if you don't care about this, okay, whatever I have told you, even though it is important, and still if you actually ignore this and if you blindly apply final value theorem, and if you are unlucky on that day and that system happens to be unbounded system, even by applying the formula, sometime it might happen that you will get some value. This is dangerous. You'll still get some value, and again, those who set the problem, they are far beyond this, okay? They understand the mentality of the student. So they must have designed their question in such a way that even though it happens to be unbounded system, and still if you apply final value theorem, you'll have some numerical value and you will find it in the options. And then if you tick that option, let me tell you, a negative marking will happen. So as I said, you have to be very, very careful. Final value theorem is not applicable every time. You have to make sure that the given system is stable, it is bounded, it has got a convergent response. Okay, so whenever the poles are lying on j omega axis or right half of the S-plane, you know that the system is never stable, and for not stable system, final value theorem is not applicable. So now with this, let us start solving this problem. So you have to find the value when t tends to infinity. It means they are asking you a final value. You know that a final value is also known as a steady state value. See a differential equation, try to understand. X double dot means it is a double derivative of x with respect to time. So just take a Laplace transform for this. You know that whenever you have a double derivative, its Laplace transform is s square times x of s, am I right? Plus 6 as constant. Now x dot is nothing but a single derivative. So dx of t by dt, Laplace would be s times x of s plus, again 5 is constant, x becomes x of s. Now this is equal to 12 times, or I would say, if I actually open this bracket, it would become 12 minus 12 times e to the power minus 2t. So it will become 12 by s minus 12 upon s plus 2. By using a frequency shift theorem, I got this. So just rearrange the term, take x of s common. So what we have in the bracket is s square plus 6s plus 5, and on right hand side, if I take, let's say, 12 common, what remains inside is 1 upon s minus 1 upon s plus 2, am I right? And then x of s is equal to 24 upon s into s square plus 6s plus 5 into s plus 2. So after solving, you'll get this. Fine. So now this can be again written as 24 whole divided by s square plus 6s plus 5 can be written as s plus 5 into s plus 1, and again we have one more polynomial s plus 2. So now we are done with x of s, and let us see whether a final value theorem is applicable or not. Now try to understand. S plus 5, S plus 1, S plus 2, it means all poles are lying on left half of S plane, am I right? Because whenever you equate denominator equal to 0, only then you get poles. So please don't forget that. So it indicates that they are left half of S plane poles. So these are left half poles, am I right? But you would see that there is one pole at origin. So this is single pole at origin. And we have seen that whenever there is single pole at origin, there is absolutely no problem, but repeated poles at origin makes a problem, am I right? So since there is only one pole at origin and rest of the poles are lying on left half of S-plane, therefore a system is said to be a stable system, and if the system is stable, there is absolutely no problem to apply a final value theorem. Why I'm talking about a final value theorem? Because they're asking you a final value, am I right? Let us apply final value theorem directly now. So you know that final value means x of infinity, which is always limits s tends to 0 s times x of s, or this is equal to limits when s tends to 0 s times. So let us write the x of s as it is, which is 24 whole divided by s into s plus 2, s plus 5, s plus 1, right? So this s and s gets cancelled. So now wherever you find s, just replace with 0. You'll get 24 whole divided by. So this will remain 2. This is 5. This is 1. So it comes out to be 2.4 as x of infinity. That's it. Then this x of infinity is referred to as what? Final value, right? So I'm sure you have understood this question. Let's move to the next question. If a system described by differential equation y double dot plus 3y dot plus 2y equal to x and is initially at rest. Please understand, whenever they say system is initially at rest, it means initial conditions are equal to 0. For the input x of t is equal to twice of u of t, the steady state portion of y of t is. Try to understand, they are not asking you steady state value. They are asking you steady state portion of output y of t. There is a difference. There is a difference. So let us see how to go about it. So let me just write the given differential equation so I can start. So y double dot plus 3y dot plus 2y equal to x, right? Again, taking Laplace transform, you know very well, y double dot means it is double derivative of y with respect to x. So it becomes s square times y of s plus 3 is constant. Y dot means it is s dot y of s plus 2y of s equal to what? X of s. But input is given, right? X of t is equal to twice of u of t. So if x of t is equal to twice of u of t, if you take a Laplace transform of this, it will become x of s, which is 2 upon s. Am I right? So we have x of s value and we can substitute it as 2 by s. Let us take y of s out. What remains inside? It is s square plus 3s plus 2. And on right hand side, x of s can be replaced as 2 by s. And finally, I can write my y of s as 2 whole divided by s into s square plus 3s plus 2. So here, just by observation, there is a single pole. Now this is important, single pole at what? Origin. Because you know that whenever there are multiple poles at origin, final value theorem is not applicable. And then this s square plus 3s plus 2, if you actually take roots of it, you'll get two poles, s equal to minus 2 and s equal to minus 1. It means all the poles are present on left half of s plane and there is only one pole present at origin. It indicates that final value theorem is applicable. So here, if you actually apply final value theorem, you will get final value or you will get a steady state value. But please understand, since they have asked steady state portion, we need to find the inverse Laplace transform of y of s, and then you have to get y of t, and in y of t, by observing you can tell what is a steady state portion. Please understand, we don't have to apply final value theorem and to get y of infinity. They are not asking you y of infinity, they are asking you steady state portion. So there is a difference between steady state portion and steady state value. So let us take inverse Laplace for the same. But as you can see, y of s is not in that position where you can apply inverse Laplace formula. So again, you have to follow a certain procedure, that is nothing but a partial fraction. Okay. So now the same y of s can be written like this: 2 upon s into s plus 1 into s plus 2. So by partial fraction concept, you can write this as a by s plus b upon s plus 1 plus c upon s plus 2. So just apply partial fraction and verify this value: a equal to 1, b equal to minus 2, and c equal to 1. So I believe that you know what is partial fraction, and I'm not going to explain you partial fraction because this is the requirement. You must know partial fraction now at this stage. So y of s, let me write it as 1 by s minus 2 upon s plus 1 plus 1 upon s plus 2. Or now you can write y of t, that is by inverse Laplace. 1 upon s will become what? It is u of t minus 2 times e to the power minus t plus e to the power minus 2t. Am I right? So now what is going to happen? If you observe this y of t, please try to observe this y of t. whatever you have. I would say these two terms are transient terms because when t tends to infinity, this portion will become 0. Am I right? Therefore, I would say this is nothing but your transient part, or rather, I would say it is nothing but transient portion. So this transient portion when t tends to infinity will become 0. But since you know that u of t is something which is constant with respect to time, I mean, even though t tends to infinity, this is not going to become 0. And therefore, whatever remaining portion is known as a steady state portion. I hope you got the difference. What is the difference between steady state value? When they say steady state value, it means you have to give some numerical answer. But when they ask you steady state portion, it means within the expression, you have to find out what is a transient part. A transient part or transient portion is that portion which becomes completely zero, which dies out when t tends to infinity. But then whatever remaining in the expression is known as a steady state portion. So I hope you got the difference between steady state portion and steady state value. Let's move ahead with the next question. So look at the question. An input of minus 3 times e to the power 2t has been given to a system with transfer function of s minus 2 upon s plus 3. The value of output at steady state is, fine. Let me just write what is given to us. What is given to me is transfer function, which is s minus 2 upon s plus 3. Now first of all, let me see for this transfer function I can apply final value theorem or not. So if you look at its pole 0 plot, then the pole is present at minus 3 and 0 is present at positive 2. So this is 0 present at positive 2. Now the question is, can I still apply final value theorem? Of course, yes, I can apply final value theorem. Try to understand, 0 is present on right half of S plane, but stability of the system does only depend on pole and not on the locations of zeros. So if this pole was present, let's say over here, then final value theorem is not applicable, but this is not the case here, right? So try to understand, even when 0 is present at right half of the S plane, it doesn't matter for final value theorem. What matters for final value theorem is only location of poles. Fine. Now, so it is now clear that I can still apply final value theorem here. But the question is, shall I apply final value theorem? Then some of the students says yes, we have to apply final value theorem because they are asking you output at steady state. So they are asking you output at steady state, and of course at steady state it means I have to find the value at t equal to infinity. But let me give you an alert. They are asking you the value at steady state, but please see that they are asking you value of output. Okay, they are asking you the value of output, but this is not output, this is transfer function. From this transfer function you have to get the output first. How to get output? Very simple. Can I write transfer function as y of s upon x of s? Of course, yes, I can write it this way. That is equal to what? S minus 2 upon s plus 3. And from this, you know that this is your output. This is your input. You can transfer input to right hand side. You can write now y of s equal to what? S minus 2 upon s plus 3 times x of s. Is that right? Now, if you have noticed, input is given. This is your input, right? So actually x of t is equal to what? It is minus 3 times e to the power positive 2t. It means by taking Laplace, you will get x of s, which is equal to minus 3 upon s minus 2. Am I right? So since now we know what is x of s, we can actually substitute, let's say in equation number 1. So now y of s is equal to what? It is s minus 2 divided by s plus 3 multiplied by minus 3 upon s minus 2. So here s minus 2 will get cancelled. What is remaining? What is remaining is y of s is equal to minus 3 upon s plus 3. Now observe your y of s, and if you look at the pole, it is present at minus 3, and since it is present at minus 3, the pole is present on left half of S plane, and therefore here final value theorem is applicable. Now the question is, shall I apply final value theorem? Answer is yes, because yes, you have to find value at steady state. That is, you want to find y of infinity. So by final value theorem, I can say that y of infinity is equal to what? It is nothing but limits s tends to 0, s times what? Y of s. Am I right? And when you do so, you will get y of infinity equal to straight away 0. Straight away 0. Just follow this formula and just get the answer. You will get steady state value equal to 0. So let's move to the next question. The unit step response of a system with transfer function g of s equal to 1 minus 2s whole divided by 1 plus s is given by which one of the following? So what is given to us, when they tell you it is nothing but step response. What is meant by step response? It is nothing but output, because response means it is output. But when they say step response, it means unit step is your input. So unit step is your input, and in response to that, whatever you get as output is known as unit step response. Very simple. So now we have decoded it, what it is given. Okay, so for unit step, it means they have informed you that unit step is the input, and you have to guess what is the unit step response out of 4 options. Let's say this is option A, this is option B, this is option C, and this is option D. So you have to take the correct option out of it. So you have to select, in fact, the correct output given by the system when the transfer function is known to you. So transfer function is known to you, right? Input is known to you. What you have to get? You have to get output. I hope the question is clear to you. So let us see. Now g of s is equal to what? It is 1 minus 2s whole divided by 1 plus s. And you know what? Input is given, that is x of t, which is nothing but unit step input, or in fact, unit step input means u of t. So by Laplace transform, you will get x of s equal to what? It is 1 by s. And of course, we know that your g of s is nothing but y of s upon what? X of s, which is equal to 1 minus 2s divided by 1 plus s. Or I can write y of s as simply 1 minus 2s divided by 1 plus s multiplied by x of s. Why I'm doing so? Because I want response, because this is y of s is nothing but output, or it is also called as response, or rather I would say it is nothing but a unit step response. In fact, to be very precise, it is nothing but Laplace transform of unit step response. Am I right? Because it is in the form of Laplace and not in terms of time. Because if it is only in terms of time, you can say unit step response. But if it is a function of s, then you have to say yes, it is unit step response, but in fact it is Laplace transform of unit step response. I hope you got my point. So let us substitute value of x of s, which is 1 by s. So eventually what y of s you are supposed to get, it is 1 minus 2s whole divided by 1 plus s, and again this is divided by s. Is that right? So now you can actually see a steady state response. First of all, let us see whether a steady state value theorem or final value theorem is applicable or not. Look at this. S equal to 0, it means a single pole is present at origin, then there is no problem. And this s plus 1 will give you pole at s equal to minus 1. Again, this is present at right half of s plane or left half of s plane. Of course, this is present at left half of s plane because pole is negative as well as real. So we can come to the conclusion that a final value theorem is applicable. I can apply. So I would say value of output at steady state is nothing but y of infinity, which is equal to limits when s tends to 0, s times y of s, which is now equal to limits s tends to 0, s times, let us substitute the value of y of s, which is 1 minus 2s whole divided by s into 1 plus s. Here s gets cancelled, right? Now whatever remaining, just substitute value of s to be 0. So we'll get y of infinity to be equal to, so y of infinity comes out to be 1. So this is nothing but a final value, right? So look at the options. So if you see the response carefully, you will actually see that there are two options which are showing final value equal to 1. That is option A also and option B also. As you can see at the end, this has reached to 1. So this remains a final value. As well as in option B, the response has started from 2, but slowly it is reducing, and it made sure that after that it has become steady state. So in both the cases, you have final value equal to 1. So rather, we should eliminate option C and option D at least. So again, on the basis of initial value only, we can identify whether the answer is option A or option B. Let's see. So what I need to do is, I need to apply initial theorem now. So by initial value theorem, what I'll get is y of 0, which is always limits s tends to infinity s times y of s, which is equal to limits when s tends to infinity s times. So let us substitute the value of y of s, which is 1 minus 2s whole divided by 1 plus s into s. So this again ss gets cancelled. We know how do we solve this problem. Just take s out. What remains inside? It is nothing but 1 by s minus 2 whole divided by s. Again I'll take common. What remains inside here? 1 plus 1 by s here. Again ss gets cancelled. Now substitute s value equal to infinity everywhere. You'll get this as minus 2 upon 1, which is equal to minus 2. So y of 0 as initial value equal to minus 2. I hope you got the answer. So initial value theorem is minus 2. Look at the options. Again, we don't have to go for option C and option D for sure. Look at option A and option B. Option B, it's starting with positive 2. And option A, here negative value is not mentioned, but definitely it is a negative value because this is below 0. So of course this has to be minus 2 only, and therefore option A is the correct option, right? So now I'm sure you have understood how to apply initial value theorem and final value theorem. Please remember, initial value theorem would be applicable every time in control system. But when it comes to final value theorem, you have to make sure that it is bounded in nature. That is, all the poles should be present on left half of S-plane. In case if the pole is present at origin, make sure that there is only one pole is present at origin. If there are multiple poles at origin, again it is unbounded, and again final value theorem is not applicable. If poles are lying on j omega axis, again final value theorem is not applicable. If poles are lying on right half of the S-plane, again it is unbounded in nature, and final value theorem is not applicable again. So with this, let us conclude the lecture, and in the next video lecture, we'll start with a block diagram reduction. Thank you.